Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. When you're tuned in, you're with Lady Business and Give It to the People Radio, where you're going to get enlightened, enhanced, empowered, and enriched. Make sure that you always tune in to Give It to the People Radio. Well, welcome back, everybody. We are here doing a special episode series with Just Me Therapy podcast. And this is going to give you insight into the three women that are behind this podcast that are all mental health professionals that are here to really help you understand a little bit more about yourself. And so this podcast is something that it's a labor of love for them. And so today I want to bring on Sasha. So Sasha, hello, how are you?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I am doing well. So I want you to just give people a little bit of background about Sasha, Giles, and, what made you decide, listen, therapy is the thing for me to do. I'm going to do this therapy thing.
Yes. So I did a lot of different work with after school programs, and I went to a lot of leadership conferences in middle school and high school. And I had someone who was that support, emotional support for me when I was younger. So after doing all of that, it motivated me to want to work in a system where we're joining people together, or at least try to facilitate that. So that's kind of what started the jumping from working with people to, okay, I want to work in a joining realm now.
Okay. All right. And then how long have you been doing the therapy and what's your specialty?
I've been doing the therapy for officially, like with a license, I've been doing it for about 5-6 years. Just been working in different mental health hospitals and within the community for about 15 years now. And what my specialty is families and children.
Okay. And what led you to do the children? Was it because of the fact that you had some help growing up and you kind of saw some things that made you say, children need a little bit more help? Because sometimes people, they shift in a certain direction, right? And I think always is something interesting because, kids have a lot that is going on in their little lives. And I don't think we realize it. And we may oftentimes kind of shirk it off to, they're just kids. But in my just view, there's been so many changes to just being a kid from when I was a kid to when these kids are kids now. And when we kind of look at that, they have so much more pressure that we never had because we didn't have all of this technology and all of this social media. So is there anything specific that said, let's focus on kids as a specialty?
For me, it was when I was younger, the fact that I had someone who supported me and actually listened. But as I'm getting older and going on through my own lifespan, I realized that, some of the things that I was able to connect with younger kids or when I was a younger person, not so much anymore. And I think that for me, just going along as I am aging, recognizing that some of the A, patience that I have, and B, some of the connection that I had with clients when I was younger, I'm still having that connection with, but it's like we're going on through the lifeline. Mm-hmm. So I would say that while the specialty, the thing that got me was working with children, the thing that continues to motivate me with working in this field is working with people and recognizing that as we grow older, as we continue to grow as people, there's new lessons that we have to learn. And that's what I've enjoyed the most, including navigating my own life.
Mm-hmm. Now, with that, it's a whole bunch of stuff that changes, right? What would you say has been one of the biggest transitions? And, this is kind of like a common theme from the pre-COVID time to like where we're at now, and just speaking with your colleagues, it's been some changes and things. What have you seen has been a trend in the type of people that you're getting that are coming to you for therapy now? Because I would imagine, of course, people need help. So they're still going to come to therapy. But has there been a trend in a certain type of person or a certain gender or anything from that time to now?
I would say that I've seen a lot more anxiety, and I've seen a lot more of, and we say in the professional, in the field, we say anxiety, but really it's just the change in quality of life that people are experiencing and what's helping to satisfy them, what they recognize as happiness. And I think that's what a lot of people are coming to counseling for, is to get some more reflection on what really is making them happy right now versus what was making them happy in the past, and what would they would like to do to continue their happiness in the future. And I think that's big, because my happiness is going to be different from your happiness and anyone else's happiness. So what I need to do and what I choose to do to support myself is going to be completely different. And that's not a one size fits all. And too often we look at, oh, we'll just have these tips and have these 4 bullet points that will help you to get out of depression or get out of anxiety, but it's not a one size fits all. And I think that's what people are seeing after 2 years, 3.5 years of lockdown, is that my happiness isn't driven by the work, go, go, hamster wheel type of living anymore. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, are you finding that any people are, and I'm going to go with this just because I know this about you, are putting, I guess, travel into their lives, right? And I would think that a lot of people now are like, look, this is a bigger world than I've probably made it. And now I feel like I want to travel. I want to find myself. I want to get away. And then also I want to speak to, or want you to speak to, that work from anywhere kind of thing. Because I'm seeing that just like as a trend in general. Like, look, if I can get Wi-Fi and I can get a good signal, right, then I can just probably be anywhere. And that seems to be, to me, a trend that people are kind of going toward.
Yes, because your backyard is bigger than your backyard now. It's not the the concrete slab or the 4x4 pitch of grass that you're used to seeing. It's a lot bigger than what we're comfortable with and what we're used to. And one thing that I have learned over the past year, kicking and screaming, I might add, but I learned it, is that you have to push yourself out of your comfort zone. And that even though things around you are changing, your destination doesn't have to change. It's how you get there that you may have to change and switch up. And so with that, yes, working remotely, or working from a different place. I have a friend that I'm definitely, I admire, because she just took that mindset. She just said, I can truly work from anywhere doing PR. And so she just upped and just went to, I want to say it was South Africa, but she just picked up and went there and stayed there for about a month and just worked remotely. But the experience that she got with meeting new people, with having different conversations, with trying new things, was something that revitalized her. And I think that's something that I got as well, just from doing my travels. I would say is that meeting new people revives my spirit. And that helps me to recognize, all right, well, happiness is bigger than your backyard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I like that. That's a really great saying. Now, with kids, right? Mm-hmm. I would imagine kids, they just can't pick up and just travel where they want, right? Like they have to have parents and money and stuff, right? Passports, all of those things. So that may not necessarily be something that's feasible for your average child. But one of the things that I see, like trend-wise too, has been that FOMO, that fear of missing out. How do you feel like when you're trying to help kids? Because I've been seeing that school districts have been suing social media companies because of the mental health effects that they've been having on kids. And I mean, it's rampant, right? So what kind of advice could a parent have, or could you give to even a kid if they're watching this, right? To give them a perspective of, you don't have to miss out on everything, because maybe everything's not worth going to in the first place, but it's like when you're in high school or, wherever, elementary, middle school, you feel like you need to be a part of something, so what's some advice that you could give to people to kind of let them know that maybe the technology is doing too much, or that things will still be there?
Yeah. I think there were like 5 or 6 questions within that one question.
I just had so many things that I was thinking about, like just different nuances of it. Yeah.
Yeah. So as far as with the fear of missing out, I would say that when you see other people's lives, or you see other people's chats, or you see other people's interactions, is that something that represents you? Yes, this person appears to be happy. Yes, this person has the smiling faces, the light at a right angle, flawless eyebrows, or flawless, what you perceive to be flawless, or engaging or exciting, but it may not be all of that. They're showing you that one snippet of what their life is. And so kind of taking that and understanding that that may not be their reality. You are creating that reality for them, and you are putting that reality on a platform. So just because this person has it doesn't mean that necessarily it's good for you. And that's okay. And I think that that's something that we learn as we get older and become more mature. You say kids and you say teenagers, but I see it a lot with young adults too in their 20s. So that idea that I have to compare my life and mirror it like this, when in all actuality it's a snippet of it. And I would say for the younger kids, depending on who's telling you this information, a lot of times it's caregivers, grandparents, aunts, uncles, they thinking about their motive and their intention. If someone is telling you, don't touch that stove, and they are telling you that because they truly care about your safety, why question it? Or question it, but why not understand where they're coming from, their intent? I see a lot of teenagers who are saying, oh, my parents just want to control me, or my parents just don't want me to live or enjoy myself, when that's not necessarily the case. There may be certain increments where they feel like you're mature enough to reach that next point. So I would say to the teenagers is, think about the information, the advice that this person is giving you. Have they ever wished malice on you? Have they ever wished ill intent on you? If that's not the case, take into consideration what they're saying, because you have your whole life ahead of you, and you have plenty of time to live certain things out. Just take your time. And I forget, there was one more question that you kind of threw in there with that big question, but I can't remember it right now.
I don't know. You just answered it well, so that's good. That's good enough for me. But you made me think about something else. You know, when you're talking about it's no malice, and you know the person is definitely looking out for your best interest. I would think that in therapy, a major part of what you do is help people to be better communicators, because they might not understand the logic or the reason or even the emotion behind why the person is telling them not to do something. They're just listening to you told me not to do this, right? So how can the parent or the older person or the caregiver just be a better communicator to let them know that there is good intent behind why I'm saying don't do it? And, you know, because a lot of adults feel like, I don't have to tell you why. I just said, this is what it is, right? Yeah. So, you know, what can those adults do to be better communicators to allow them to just understand that there is good intent behind the no, or the this is not what you should do?
I think that comes down to learning how to talk from a point of compassion, learning how to really express the feelings that you are feeling as to why you are saying no to your child. Are you saying no to be that authoritative, dictative parent or person? Or are you saying that because deep down inside, you worry about their safety? Or that's something that you did when you were younger, and there's fear for you that I know how it turned out when I was younger, so I don't want it to turn out like that for you. Not to say that it will, but then opening up that opportunity to have a conversation with your child. Like, for example, exposure to pornography or sexualized images. What that means, what that looks like as a parent, what your fear is, what your worry is, and then having that dialogue with your child. I remember growing up, and I never asked, it was very seldom that I asked why to my parents. It was kind of like, all right, they said do it, so let me just do what I got to do because I really want to go outside, or I really want to go to this school dance or something of that nature. When we were younger, we really didn't ask those why questions. It was, you do what I do when I tell you to do it, and you don't ask questions. But now we're getting, as technology becomes a lot more vast and kids are getting exposed to more whys and information that they can just type on the internet, they're getting more responses. So as a result, in the home, it forces parents to have to open up more and give those whys, even though we were taught not to give those whys because we didn't receive those whys. But now our kids are asking for those whys. And those whys have to be conveyed in a very respectful, but still assertive way to recognize that, okay, I'm the parent, but at the same time, I'm valuing your curiosity, because your curiosity is going to continue to propel you as you become 20, 30, 40, 50.
I think the thing is, it's a generational difference, right?
Mm-hmm.
And who's raising who and how old the parents and the grandparents really are nowadays, when grandparents are the age of what the kids were back in the day and still considered kids. And then you're talking about the different types of families that we have now. Is there anything else that you found that over the last, 5-6 years since you've been doing this, that has changed drastically with maybe some of the issues that people are bringing to you?
Yes, yes. I would definitely say that, and not just in counseling in my profession, but also in my relationships, my friendships, in the world. I would say that men, people who identify as male, are being more vulnerable or expressive with their emotions. And I think that's an important part, because while traditional therapy may not be the resolution or the resolve, your feelings, your thoughts, and your opinions matter. And I think that as I began to get older and go into different relationships of my own, that instead of having this image or this perception that this person is going to be the end all be all and not have any feelings or emotions or not get their feelings hurt, is not realistic. So I appreciate the idea of men coming to and talking more about how they feel being vulnerable.
Yeah, I've noticed that too. And I think, specifically, it seems like sports in general, but sports figures, because that's the thing that has historically been seen as so masculine,
Mm-hmm.
And so then when they say, look, I really need help in my mental health, I think that makes a huge difference. Now, do you think that there are any things that are beneficial profession, like when you look at the trends? And that's why I'm saying trends, because there's always going to be a push towards something. Therapy has been there, but people are now choosing. It used to be seen as something that was for the rich. And now I think it's a little bit more accessible, specifically with something like your podcast. And why you're doing the Just Me Therapy podcast is because you want to make it more accessible. But is there anything that, has been something that's like, okay, well, now it's cool, or now we should do it, But sometimes I think that the trend also raises the price, right? Like, so is it raising the value, but also raising the price? Or like, what do you think is really happening right now in the therapy world?
As in regards to what, the popularity of it, or
because now people are paying attention to it. So if men are being more vulnerable, if there's somebody that's saying you should pay attention to it, now all of a sudden, like, so let's take, like, for instance, if we go like Megan Thee Stallion, right? So Megan Thee Stallion goes and she starts her own little information about therapy. And I'm assuming she's probably taking therapy too. And now all of a sudden the hot girls want to get on therapy, right? So I'm not trying to say that, it's a bad thing. I'm saying it's a good thing. But do you think that people are maybe just coming just to say that they went to a therapist? Do you think it's just a popular thing now? Like, what do you think the value of it is for just, I guess, the average person now?
I think that it's maybe 25% just to say I did it. And I think the rest is that people are tired. People have held so much in for a very, very long time. I think that a lot of the things that we've experienced over the past 3 or 4 years, as far as society, kind of takes us back to a place where we thought our country was this progressive and forward-thinking country, but in all actuality, when we take a lot of those filters off of our society and we see how these systems are truly working, that we realize that, at the risk of sounding a little risque, modern day slavery. And so when we think about those things and we think about the mental strife that comes with people of the diaspora, the African Americans of the diaspora, we think about, no, we're tired. We're really tired. And no longer am I going to bite my tongue because my tongue is starting to bleed now. So I think that that's the element where a lot more people are saying that, okay, there is more than one way to get over some of those stressors and those microaggressions in my community or country or company. So I think that people, their bodies are getting filled up with all of these emotions that if they don't let them out, it's going to be really concerning. My behaviors could be unhealthy. The way I project and interact with my family is going to be unhealthy. I know during the pandemic, there were a lot, or significance of the pandemic, there were a lot of marriages that were called to the carpet because it really made you realize that there were so many other elements in my life. So instead of that, robot behavior. So I think that the pandemic, and I think that people's really challenging what this country can bring and do for them has allowed a lot of emotions to come out.
Yeah, no, I mean, you answered it wonderfully, because I think you didn't recognize something was a problem until you were faced with it, and you didn't have a choice but to deal with it. And just being tired is a real thing, like mentally tired, physically tired, emotionally, spiritually. And then now people being able to have an outlet. So as we conclude this, what would you say you want to leave the people with? Like, if a person is saying, I'm considering therapy, what would you say to them, to that person, to get them to say, you know what, come on over here, get a little therapy?
Are you willing to receive feedback? As long as you are willing to receive feedback, then you're ready for counseling. That's not to say that you're going to do everything that the counselor says or recommends, or that you guys are necessarily going to agree. But as long as you're able to receive feedback and coming in with an open mind, then you're ready. You're ready. It's not going to happen in a month. It's truly not, because you're working on years of behaviors that you want to do differently in order to get to the destination. Again, going back to that, the destination is here. What you're doing right now isn't working to get to that destination. So now you have to switch up some of those behaviors and that mindset. That's not going to happen in a month. So you got to work at it. You got to be open to it.
Yeah, no, I love that. Now, if a person says, okay, listen, I listened to the podcast, but Sasha, what's your favorite moment or episode or whatever throughout this whole time of you doing the podcast? What would that be for you?
I would say the episode right before our live episode, where we spoke about intergenerational trauma and how a lot of times we don't know what is truly ingrained in us and our behaviors and our actions until we start to pull back those layers and understand why we do what we do. So,
yeah. Yeah. And that whole intergenerational trauma one, that whole segment, I totally love that, because I think we all suffer from it. And, when you kind of talk about what you can do to get out of it, those episodes were definitely some of my favorites. So, yes, applaud. Yay, applause for those episodes. And so what do you, if you're saying, okay, look, going forward, what do you want to see happen with the podcast?
Oh, gosh, I want to be able to get to a space where our interaction with people is broadcasted a lot more on the couch of a person in their living room. I don't want it to be us talking at people. I don't want us to be talking at individuals or lecturing and saying, you should do this, you should do that, because it's not a one size fits all. The same thing that works for you is not going to work for me. But I would definitely like that idea of talking our concerns out and our emotions to be just as important as your physical health, not competing for it. So.
Yeah, that's good stuff. That's good stuff, because, once we really start to pay attention to what we really need and then make steps towards actually going after that, then I think that would just cause us to have just better mental health overall, which then feeds into all the other parts of our lives. So I think that's great. All right. Well, thank you so much for sharing your time and your thoughts and your insight. And then just giving us a perspective about, the people that should be coming to you and the things that you really love doing, because it does make a huge difference when a person can kind of get a little insight into that area and they can say, I have that problem. Yeah, let me go on over there. okay, let me talk to her because she obviously understands. And so parents, teenagers, this is definitely the person you should be talking to because you want to have a better relationship. And I think that once you make that decision, then now you have to just press the button and book the consultation, right? Or press the button and listen to the podcast. So, all right. Well, thank you so much for being on. And everybody, just keep listening to Just Me Therapy. You can go to justmetherapy.com and you can find all of the past episodes, and new episodes are coming. Thank you, guys.
Hey, thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to Give It to the People Radio. Make sure that you follow us online at ladybusiness.com, LADYBIZNESS. We look forward to helping you grow, sustain, and maintain your business.